Good morning, everyone. We're just going to give it a couple more minutes here. We're 2 minutes shy of 9 o'clock, and then we will get started. So I just wanted to say good morning and really excited to hop into this webinar in the next couple minutes. Happy Friday to you too as well, Walter. Just give me a yes in the chat bar if you guys can hear me clearly. Good morning. Yes, good morning, everyone. Happy morning. Give it one more minute. Good morning, everyone. Someone called me on not having my video on, so I just wanted to say good morning. There you go. Awesome. Thanks, Darren. Good morning, Terry. Glad that you could make it on. So it is 9 o'clock, guys. I'd like to give it just another 30 seconds. I think that we do have a full room here today. I know that some people are having a little bit of difficulty with their internet connections due to the winds out here in Nova Scotia right now. So we'll just give it a few more seconds and then we'll get started. Good morning, Gary. Hope you're having a great morning. So again, for those that are just joining, if you could just give me a yes in the chat bar that you can hear me. I think that we're gonna get this show on the road because we have a lot of information to get through today. We got a lot of stuff that we would like to get through and make sure that you guys get a good foundation for the virtual selling information that we have here today. So without further ado, we're gonna hop into it. So good morning, everyone. Welcome to today's session. Again, my name is Curtis Hamilton. We've been running these Sandler sessions for the last couple weeks, and we're just really thrilled as to the amount of people and the attendance that we've had over the last couple weeks. And again, I just want to thank everybody for showing up for today's session. And we're going to be talking about pivoting from face-to-face selling to selling virtually, which is something that is top of mind for a lot of businesses right now. Give me a yes in the chat bar if this is something that is absolutely top of mind for you and your teams right now, is selling virtually. Just give me a yes. Outstanding. Very good. Awesome. And just before we actually hop into the content of the webinar, I personally wanted to just take 30 seconds to thank anybody who's got loved ones who are on the front lines battling this COVID-19 pandemic. Nurses, doctors, personal support workers, people that are right on the front lines right now, basically protecting the planet. I just wanted to thank all of them publicly, and if you could pass along our thanks to your loved ones if they are on the front lines. I just want to say thank you on behalf of myself and the Sandler team. So if we could just give a big thank you in the chat bar to all those people that are out there doing this so that we can do this. That would be fantastic. All right, so here we go. Virtual selling, something I'm very passionate about and something, again, like I mentioned, is top of mind, I think, for a lot of businesses. Again, if you can enable your webcam, that would be great. We're obviously going to record this session. Our teammate Mark has been so kind as to keep our YouTube channel up to date with all of our Sandler sessions. So if you're unable to attend this webinar, or if you'd like to rewatch one of our webinars, you can do that by visiting our YouTube channel. So here we go. Let's talk about it. So our way here at Sandler is to be humble, hungry, and smart. We want to seek the truth. We want to speak the truth. And serving others is our greatest joy and privilege. And that really should be the mindset of a lot of people involved with sales right now. Would you guys agree that empathy is a massive thing to have right now in sales? Just give me a yes in the chat bar. Absolutely. Taking that empathetic approach to sales is so important especially in today's market. So using the chat bar, I'd love for you to answer this question. We're going to try to keep this as interactive as possible. So what has been the toughest thing for you in working / selling from home in this new normal? Just give me an answer in the chat bar there. What has been the toughest thing for you guys right now as far as working from home or selling from home? No mores than ever. Okay, no, more no's than ever. Absolutely, James. Not meeting with everyone. There you go. Face-to-face meetings. Yeah, absolutely. Lack of face-to-face. Trying to sell when companies are simply trying to survive. Absolutely, very, very hard. Uncertainty in the business climate. These are all fantastic answers, guys. And all answers that we've been hearing a lot here at Sandler over the last couple of weeks as we've run these webinars. We're getting a lot of the same answers. It's been really hard to sell to people that are not buying. So here's another question for you. What is one best practice that you have consciously implemented that is having a positive impact on your days right now? So what is something that's having a positive impact on your day right now? Let's throw that up into the chat bar really quick. Oh, I appreciate that, Terry Sandler. Yeah. Slower pace, okay. Direct contact with clients via phone. Establishing a routine, that's fantastic, Brian. Having people contact me, absolutely, James. Daily chats with coworkers, very good. Again, so things that we've seen some common trends right now in the market, right? Like really, coworkers are becoming closer. We're having more conversations with face-to-face customers over the internet, which is quite interesting. So today's agenda. The mindset around dealing with the new normal. Obviously, this is our new normal. Necessary behavioral changes that we'll need to make when selling virtually. We're going to take a look at that keep, attain, recapture, and expand model that we use at Sandler. We're going to look at developing your activity-based success plans, best practices in working from home, best practices in running a virtual meeting, best practices in selling in the new normal. And then we're going to touch on some lessons learned, and then I'm going to wrap it up with a quick thank you. So as we hop into this, a lot of what we're going to talk about today, guys, really surrounds around this success triangle that we talk a lot about at Sandler. It's the crux of a lot of our foundational work and our sales mastery work. But really, we're going to take a look at this attitude triangle. So we all know that we need good behaviors, a good attitude, and good technique to be successful. Today, we're really going to zero in on the attitude. So this attitude triangle is made up of your attitude towards your organization, your market, and yourself. And if you were able to join us for our Sandler session on creating a successful routine, we really dove in deep around taking a look at yourself and what you're doing for your routine, not only of your body, mind, and spirit, just making sure that you're working each day and doing what is productive each day to move you forward. We talked about 60% of your day being really spent on those needle moving activities that move your business forward. And we're going to take that one step further here today. So again, no crisis is permanent. If we look at 1941 in Pearl Harbor, 1979, the gas crisis, Black Monday in 1987, the year 2000 was the dot-com bust, 2001 obviously with 9/11, 2008, that was when the Lehman Brothers went bankrupt and they had $600 billion under management. And then obviously when we look at 2020, we're looking at the COVID pandemic right now. So we really want to make sure that our mindset is one that we know that this too shall pass and that we're ready for when it does, right? So how good is the average salesperson? This is a question that a lot of companies are asking themselves right now as we move into this virtual way of selling. I'm sure a lot of you can agree with me that the average salesperson could either be thriving in this environment or they could be finding it absolutely crippling in this environment. Who's noticing that right now, maybe with part of your teams? that you're noticing some people that are average salespeople really struggling right now with this virtual way of selling? Give me a yes in the chat bar if you're noticing that. Outstanding. Yeah, it's a tough thing right now for average salespeople that don't have the skills in building rapport, might not have the skills with technology. This way of virtual selling could be very, very tough. So it is our responsibility to be high performers in this environment. If you're trying to sell virtually, you really need to be at the top of your game. And we're going to go through a couple of the most important things that come to mind when looking at selling virtually. We're also going to try to debunk the 5 most common mistakes made when you're selling virtually as well. So we'll take a look at those for you guys as well. So here are your 5 common virtual selling mistakes. So are you prepared? And this includes technology. So on a scale of 1 to 10, I'd love for you guys to grade yourself on your use of your own technology in front of you, in your pad, on your piece of paper. How good are you at running virtual meetings? Are you dialed in with how everything works inside Zoom or Skype or Teams or whatever platform that you're using right now to sell virtually? Are you prepared, right? Are you following the 70-30 rule digitally? I'm sure that we've all been on enough webinars in the last couple weeks or virtual meetings in the last couple weeks where it is so imperative that we're following that 70-30 rule. Right? We got to be listening 70% of the time, listening 30% of the time. Things like social cues will be at top of mind as we work through a couple other things later in this webinar, but we need to be really conscious of what we look like on screen and how we sound on screen, and are we giving off the vibe that we want through our digital platforms? Are you clear on your intentions? So have you adjusted your questioning right now? So a lot of people are still trying to sell and gain prospects the exact same way that they did, 3 weeks ago or a month ago, and that simply will not work, right? Are you following a strategy? And this basically includes what sort of platform are you using right now to network and to gain customers and to cultivate leads and farm leads? We really should have a platform that we're using for that, whether that's LinkedIn, or if your business is more like there's so many platforms out there right now that we really need to dial in where our people are, where are our prospects right now, and are we up and comfortable with using that specific platform, right? So that's very, very important as well. And do you have a strategy for that platform? And are you investing time into building your virtual network and your personal brand? So if you're going to want to sell virtually, if you're going to want to sell online, one of the most important things that you might be able to take away from this whole webinar is we really need to take a look at what am I doing right now to build my virtual network and your personal brand online, because people will go online, whether it be your profile through LinkedIn or Facebook or whatever you guys are using. They're going to take a look at that. They're going to take a deep dive into that. And again, we went through that in our first webinar, how to leverage LinkedIn for your social network. But really, we need to take a look at what you're doing for your personal brand. Are you coming off as a professional? What sort of things are you posting that will bring value to your prospective clients? These are things that need to be changed if we really want to make a dent in selling virtually. So using the chat, what is one unintended positive consequence of the new normal for you guys? Give me that quick in the chat right now. What's an unintended positive or consequence from the new normal for you guys? Matthew, the 70-30 rule is 70% of the time we need to be listening, 30% of the time we need to be speaking. That's the 30-70 rule. Organization, learning, oh, awesome. Reduced expenses, Joshua, absolutely. What else are we seeing as an unintended positive? Less travel time. I'm sure travel expenses have went down in many businesses, for sure. You find people's guards are down a little more. Okay, Andrew, that's awesome. Time to work, webinars. Very good. Everyone is in the same boat, absolutely. People looking to connect. Awesome. So as you can see, guys, no matter what we work through, there's always going to be those unintended positives, right, that come from parts of distress, basically. So what mindsets do we need in a time like this? And here we're going to take a look at our belief wheel. So our belief wheel really revolves around things like this. Your beliefs, you have your judgments, you have your actions, and you have your results. So right now, on a scale of 1 to 10, what would you guys grade your, I guess, your positive mindset right now? Give me a score from 1 to 10. Where are you guys right now on a scale of 1 to 10 for positive mindset? 9, that's outstanding. Heather, a 1, hopefully we can help that out today. Lots of 7s, a 9.5. Very good. So we've got some motivated people here. I'm sorry, Jake, that you're at a 0. Hopefully we can help you out there today. All good, all good. So really what we're trying to do, guys, is before we try to sell virtually, we really need to make sure that we're in that right mindset, right? Because however we talk to people, whether it be through email, through phone, through direct messaging, through voice messaging, whatever sort of application that we're using, we really need to take a look at our mindset, the words that we're using, how we're communicating, and our own beliefs. Our belief system needs to be that of a very positive mind frame, because we really need to be that ray of light for people when we're looking to connect and hopefully sell them. So again, our clients need us now more than ever. You are built for situations like this. We need to ingrain that into our minds that we were built for situations like this. We are resilient. We will remain true to our vision, our mission, and the way that we do things. People are craving connection, communication, and collaboration right now. It's very evident right now in the market that people are looking for that. We've already got a couple of those brought up in the chat, that people are looking to connect. People are looking to communicate, right? I will focus on the positive, and there is lots of it. We need to find that positive, guys. No matter how hard it is to wake up some days, and I'm not going to preach here, but it really is imperative when we're looking to sell virtually that we are in that positive mind frame. There is always opportunity. We just have to go out there and find it. And I will double down and not hunker down needs to be another mindset that we need to have. And I'm respectful in all communications. That's a very, very important one. So when we're looking at our mindset for virtual selling, we really need to take this approach of being respectful, empathetic, caring. So important when we look at all communications that we're having right now. Using the chat, what is one mindset worth adopting in this new normal? Just give me a quick answer in the chat there. So what is one mindset that you're looking at adopting or worth adopting in this new normal? Where are all of the opportunities? Absolutely, Matthew, and that's something that we're going to try to help you out here with today. This too shall pass, empathy. Everyone is in the same boat, so go for it. Absolutely. Resilience. That's great, Terry. Absolutely. It's a resilient mindset. That's a great point, Barb. This is an opportunity to reset and pivot. Absolutely. Helping others. How can I help? Stay engaged with clients. These are all fantastic, guys. All great mindsets to have when you're looking at selling virtually. So never let how you feel determine how you act. Let how you act determine how you feel. This really needs to be the way that we move forward and try to really look at our prospective clients online and trying to sell virtually. So here's a question for you. As we move into the next part of this presentation, we're going to be touching a lot on sort of what we're bringing to the table. You know, if we really want to sell virtually, again, when I mentioned one of the 5 common mistakes is not building up your personal brand online, is how are you gaining trust then? If we can't have that face-to-face meeting, how are you gaining trust from your potential clients right now? And that's where your personal brand and understanding the platform that you're using right now will really come into play. And having a strategy, let's just use LinkedIn, because we're all professionals here on this session here today. If we can use LinkedIn and we can build up our personal brands and have a strategy for LinkedIn on how we could bring value to our potential customers, it will make it a lot easier to initiate that conversation with them, right? So how are you gaining trust right now is a question that we need to be asking ourselves. Our pattern interrupt. So if you're posting things online, if you're posting things on social networks right now, why would someone stop scrolling and look at what you've posted? That's a strategy that we need to look at. You know, that pattern interrupt right now is so important, especially now because so many people are home and trying to post things on social networks. We really need to take a look at that pattern interrupt. What are we doing? What's our strategy around this? Why are we using video or pictures or just plain text posts? All of this stuff needs to come into play because this really comes down to the value offer and the value add that you're bringing to your potential client. When they're on whatever network they're on, say, let's say LinkedIn, for instance, if they're on LinkedIn and they see something of value that you've posted and it's added value to them or their teams, they will be more inclined to reach out and maybe have a conversation with you, right? So we really need to look at that. What are we posting right now? Why are we posting it? What's the intention? Are we very clear on that intention? And again, what platform have you committed to? It's one thing to use all platforms, but best practice is what's being said out there in the market right now is that we really need to pick one or two that we can commit to and become very familiar with, not only the platform itself, but the people that are on it. Facebook will bring a certain amount of people or a specific kind of person, whereas LinkedIn will bring a more professional sort of atmosphere when you're looking at networking. So if you're going to double down on LinkedIn, I would highly recommend that you learn the ins and the outs, learn the techniques on how to approach people correctly. And we talked about this in our first session that we ran last Monday. So if you'd like to check that session out, you can go to the YouTube channel. But we talked a lot about specific ways to build your profile up, how to connect online through direct messaging, the types of messages that we can be using, all very important when we're laying the groundwork and the foundation for virtual selling. So this is very, very important, guys. So how are you going to act over the next days ahead? So what needs to change? These are the things that we need to start thinking about now as we move into the second half of this presentation. We really need to think about what needs to change right now, what needs to stay the same, right? So these are some things that we really need to take a look at. What do I need to do to change and what needs to stay the same? So using the chat, what is one behavior, something you can control, let's say an activity, that improves your ability to sell or work remotely? So what is one behavior that's something that you can control that improves your ability to work remotely? Let's get some answers in there right now. Setting a schedule, awesome. Positive attitude, scheduling, increase frequency. Very good. Routine and environment, very important, absolutely. Sticking to a routine, very important, eh, Gary? Absolutely. Scheduling like activities and time blocks, that sounds great, Al. Very good, guys. So there are activities out there, guys, that we can control that will really help, you know, us improve our ability to sell remotely. We just have to really dial those in and really think about those. So as we move into the second half of today's presentations, we're going to get a little more practical with some things now that you can put into your day. Hopefully that will help you out. Maybe we're going to look at that mindset and really try to figure out how we can lay a good foundation here for you guys. So we need to revise our cookbook. So if anyone's familiar with the Sandler Way and how we do things here at Sandler Training, we have what we call our cookbook. And this basically is our plan for how we're going to reach out to our prospective clients, our current clients, and so on. So really need to revise that plan if we're going to try to sell virtually. And what's been paused is in-person sales calls, travel, which has been mentioned, trade shows, lunch meetings, networking events, conferences have all been paused, right? Those are things that we cannot control right now. But things that we can look at, things that are exciting, things that are opportunities are things like video conferencing, LinkedIn emails, cold calls that are still happening, emails, teleconferences, which are happening quite often right now, virtual strategic account management. So following up with your accounts via, video conferencing or video emails or however you guys are doing it. But what I will recommend is take a look at your plan right now. And if it hasn't changed, from 3 weeks ago up until right now, it might be beneficial to take a look at your strategies surrounding your cookbook right now. How are you finding clients? Where are you finding clients? How is your close ratio with some of those clients that you're finding? We want to look at that data. The data is very, very important when you're looking at selling virtually. So behaviors for working at home. Again, these are all things that are going to help us become more professional when looking at selling virtually. So designate a workspace if possible and set it up. Again, something we talked about in one of our sessions last week. It's so important, guys, if you have the opportunity to set up a designated workspace, it's highly recommended. It's best practice. Keep your Microsoft Teams open or your video open. Keep your Zoom open if you're working with your teams. Helps create that collaborative environment. Use video intentionally and for meaningful conversations. So again, and I have be present there. So we really need to be cognizant when we're on these video meetings or teleconferences or webinars. Are you checking your phone while you're on the webinar, while people can see you? Are you doing other things? And I know that there's other distractions right now. People have kids at home and pets and so on. But if you can, if it's at all possible, to not be on your phone during Zoom meetings or conferences or webinars, because people look at those social cues, right? They look at what you're doing. And if you're not present, it's going to be very, very hard to move forward in a conversation with a prospective client if they can tell that you're doing other things. And I know from having delivered hundreds of these webinars and trainings that people right now are on their phones and people are looking at other things on their computers. They're using just the audio and listening, maybe checking emails. But if you're on a video call with someone and you're working from home and you're trying to sell virtually, try to be present as much as you can. Keep your cameras at eye level. You don't want to multitask. Again, don't be on doing something else. These are all part of visual cues. You want to look into the camera and maintain eye contact as much as you can. You want to focus on the person that you're talking to or the people that you're talking to. You want to put your phone on hotspot in case of your internet, going down. So on days like today where we have 80-kilometer winds out here in Lawrencetown, I'm on a hotspot right now. So if power does go down, I'm able to keep this webinar sort of up and rolling. I think it's hardwire into the internet if possible, if you have a cable at home, and use a headset if that's going to help you at all. So, it's just some behaviors that we need to look at when you're working from home, guys. It's not simply just setting your computer up at your kitchen table and going for it. Really try to have a designated area if possible. Know your technology. So we're going to touch on that again, but you really need to know the ins and the outs of how your technology works and how to leverage it. Okay, use other apps for emails. So I'm sure a lot of people right now on this webinar, give me a yes in the webinar if you're getting a ton of emails right now. If you're just seeing an overwhelming amount of emails. Yeah, absolutely. Look at this. Yes, 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 yes. Yes, okay. Lots of emails coming through. So what we've started doing is using an app called Loom or an app called BombBomb. So what it does is, I'm sure there are some people on the webinar today that got a video email from me. It was me talking on a message, just giving them the gist of what's happening. And that was it. So it's a quick email that you watch rather than an email that you need to read and maybe things will get lost. So using apps like that might be beneficial. I'd highly recommend you take a look at it. Do an internet speed test. So if you're seeing that your webinars are lagging or people are choppy when they're trying to express things, it might be beneficial to take an internet speed test. And you can just go on to your local provider on Google, type in Eastlink internet speed test, and you'll be able to run it right there. Use time blocks for important non-urgent activities. Again, that 60% of your time really needs to be spent on those needle moving activities, whether it's prospecting, building your network through LinkedIn or whatever platform you're using, but really try to use that 60% time on needle moving activities. Developing a morning routine, turning those into atomic habits. You know, again, morning routines are very, very important. Again, we went into a great deal about that earlier this week in the webinar, so I highly suggest you go back and watch that. It's very important to have an evening routine, so shutting things down, not being on your computer all day and then all night, and your phone all day and all night. There's a bunch of studies out there that say that literally shutting things down at around, you know, an hour before you go to bed is probably best practice, just to give your eyes a rest, to give your brain a rest. Start journaling if you haven't already. Again, guys, these are all behaviors that are going to put us into a correct mindset when we're looking at selling virtually. We're looking for that consistency and that routine in our day-to-day so that we can start to reap the benefits of selling virtually and building your network virtually. So here's just basically a tool that you can use from the lifelabslearning.com, and it's a remote readiness assessment. So you're able to take a screenshot of this right now from your phone. You can take a picture of it, or you can reach out to Tanya there at the bottom via her email. And this basically is a remote readiness assessment that basically scores you and your team on your readiness for working from home. So things like your employees know who to contact for tech issues, or employees know what tech tools to use. These are just an assessment right now. If you're a leader or a CEO that's on this call right now, this might be a good assessment just to make sure that everyone is on the same page when working from home. Obviously, you're going to have some of the people on your team that are very good with technology and understand how to use technology, but you might have some people that struggle with it. So this is just an assessment to make sure that everyone is on the same sort of page and everyone has the best ability to move forward within their roles. So I'll leave that up for a few seconds there so you guys can either take a picture of that, or like I said, you can email Tanya at lifelabslearning.com. It's a cool little assessment in there. So running a virtual meeting. So let's get to the bread and butter of today's session. We're going to do a before, during, and after. Running virtual meetings, sales meetings, sales prospect meetings, really comes down again to consistency. So knowing your technology, knowing how to mute yourself or when to mute yourself, understanding how video works, the different types of galleries that you can set up, backgrounds that you can set up, chat functions, the ability to share things through whatever platform you're using as far as technology goes and running your virtual meetings. There's a lot of help online right now. Google is a great tool to use when you're looking for help on how to run these platforms. I know with our team at Sandler, we've been working daily on really trying to dial in our delivery of things with our clients, as well as these webinars, and making sure that things run smoothly. I know that Zoom, for instance, if you're looking at running workshops, we're able to separate people into different rooms. So if you're running a remote sales team and you'd like to separate people into different rooms and give them homework or have them do activities, you can do things like that. But again, understanding your technology is absolutely mission critical right now. Turn on your video when at all possible, right? It's always good to have your video there. I'm right here talking, but it's always best practice to have your video on there and talk with people and understand sort of, again, those social cues, those visual cues. We can't be in front of people when we sell right now, unfortunately. So if we're going to talk with people and try to build relationships virtually, we really need to look at those visual cues, guys. And that's where not being on your phone, not being distracted, if at all possible, when talking on any sort of meeting that you have, is absolutely pivotal right now. Make sure your profile name is accurate and professional. So maybe your Skype profile is something you set up back in college and you might want to have another look at what your handle is. Maybe you want to set up a new one, a new professional profile online with Skype or Zoom or whatever sort of application you're using right now, maybe within Teams, just making sure that everything's accurate, meaning phone numbers, emails, addresses, that sort of thing. And if you've got a professional photo that you want to put up there always helps. But really, we just want to make sure that you're looking at a real professional output when you're going to have these virtual meetings. Send draft agendas in advance if possible. If you're able to send out an agenda to a prospective client or whoever you're meeting with, that would be best practice, just so everyone understands what you're going to talk about in that meeting. And we really have to do our best, and I'm guilty of this as well, but we really need to be cognizant of what is on that agenda and sticking to the agenda. So sometimes in virtual meetings, things kind of go off the rails. So give me a yes in the chat bar right now if you've been on a virtual meeting that started well and then sort of went off the rails and people just started talking about whatever. We've got a lot of yeses coming through here. Absolutely. And absolutely, yeah. So, yep, lots of people. So again, guys, that's a pattern. And, you know, we all come by it honestly. We just love connecting, and that's where that connection, that collaboration that people are thriving for and really want to have right now. But we have to do our best to really understand and value people's time and stick to the agenda, right? Stick to the agenda. So assign homework to foster engagement if you can. So another best practice is to send something out to a prospective client, maybe have them fill something in or give them a little bit of homework, and that's in quotation marks, just to foster that engagement. Maybe there's something you want them to fill out to pre-qualify them or to learn more about their pain points, whatever it may be. Maybe that's where you and your sales team need to sit down and think of something that you can be sending people to foster that engagement. Maybe it's a white paper or some, I don't know, testimonials that you want them to read or whatever it may be, a PDF. Have them look at something before you hop on that virtual meeting so that you can use that as a sort of lead in, but also to foster that engagement. So that is your before. Now we're going to take a look at your during. So you're in your meeting, someone wants to meet with you virtually. Now you've got them on the platform, you sent them the link for Zoom. Now we need to take some time up front to get the other party comfortable with the technology. So it's best practice to make sure that, again, I've asked everyone on the webinar if they can hear me, can you see me, those sort of things, right? Can you see my video? Can you hear my audio? Getting them comfortable with things. I know that sometimes when we go on these virtual calls, other people might be on mute and they start talking. Give me a yes in the chat bar if that's happened on one of your webinars right now. People start to get into a big long spiel or they're trying to answer something and they're, yeah, there you go, Hector, all the time. They might be on mute, right? So we want to make sure that we can coach people through that. Always record meetings if possible. It's very easy inside something like Zoom. This automatically records as soon as I start the meeting. It's just a function inside the settings that you just click. So I'd highly recommend that. And have an upfront contract about the rules of engagement. So at Sandler, we're big advocates of this upfront contract and making sure that we're clear on expectations. So, you know, the rules of engagement right now, again, in these unprecedented times are very different. So we know that there might be children or pet interruptions. We, you know, ask the other party to turn on their video if at all possible. Share in the silence rule and be mindful of using humor. So that is something that I really want to make, bring to your guys' attention, is that during virtual meetings and during virtual webinars like this and virtual meetings within your team, the use of humor, we really need to be cognizant of it because, again, those social cues are not there. And if you're with a prospect and you're trying to explain why something is funny, maybe you don't want to say it, right? So just kind of, again, check yourself, check your mindset, you know, maybe take a look at what sort of humor that you're using done, you know, virtually. So just something to keep an eye on. Ask them to use the chat liberally as well, which we're doing here today, guys. We're utilizing the chat function inside Zoom. It keeps it interactive. Again, you can do that with your clients if you've got a big client call or a group meeting or something like that. Ask each person to identify themselves before speaking. Again, in some platforms, it'll give their name, but it's always good if you don't know the person, just have them introduce themselves. And it's just best practice to know who's speaking. Let them know as the facilitator, you will call on them to ask for feedback throughout the meeting. This is absolutely imperative, and having run a bunch of these guys, we will open the floor up and ask questions. If you feel comfortable sharing, we might ask a question like that. If you guys feel comfortable, what do you guys think? It's best practice to just call on people, but you have to let them know that you're going to call on them before you start your meeting. Don't just start calling randomly on people. You might catch them off guard. Obviously, in today's market, they could be doing something else, like changing a child or letting their pet out, so on. So just make sure that you're cognizant and you're asking for that upfront, that you're going to be asking for feedback. So after a virtual meeting, leave time at the end to take their temperature, meaning, we should leave some time at the end of each of these meetings to make sure that we're all on the same page, right? Virtual meetings might leave some guesswork, but if you can leave some time at the end of your meeting so that you're not just closing the meeting and then hopping out, we really want to make sure that we can have time to set clear action steps for the next meeting or the next interaction that we may have. So it's a good opportunity to take out your calendar while you're on the call, share screens if at all possible, look at each other's schedules and figure it out that way. Email a summary and a clear action items. It's always best practice to follow up from a meeting and basically give a summary of what was talked about. And again, those next steps are clearly stated within that email or that video message that you might send. Yes, copy all the appropriate people. So you might have a video call that has 20 people on it. You want to make sure that you're getting the email addresses of all those people that were involved. Because if we look at, again, the Sandler Foundation and the Sandler Sub, and a lot of what we teach inside the Sandler training system is the decision makers, right? We've already mentioned that through virtual selling and through today's times, we could be on a video call with a decision maker. So we really need to make sure that we're getting their emails and we're copying all the appropriate people that make decisions on those emails. So any video messages or PDFs that we send. And just a little quote here, the faintest ink is better than the strongest memory. So write stuff down. When you're on virtual meetings, there's, and this is just my personal opinion, there might be nothing more annoying than hearing someone type away while you're trying to chat. Has anyone witnessed something like that right now through a virtual meeting where you're talking and someone is typing frantically? There you go. Yes, 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 totally. Lots of yeses, right? So just be cognizant of that. Maybe using a pen and paper might be best practice. Even letting people know that you're going to be writing stuff down ahead of time, or if you're going to type on your computer, don't forget to mute yourself. All right. So using the chat, please share any additional best practices on running a virtual meeting. Is there anything that you guys have in your bag of tricks that you'd like to share with, the 80 some odd people that are on this webinar right now? You can tell the client you'll take notes. Absolutely, Hector. Have a nice background? Yeah, absolutely, Jake. If you don't have a background that you're comfortable showing, you can set one up virtually. Very good. All right, so let's talk about some techniques. So building relationships. So we all remember where we were on 9/11, unfortunately, but we need to be ready for the moment. Meaning we need to, the new engagement questions. We need to think of how we're questioning. Our last session that we went through, we talked a lot about this ability to question and what sort of questions that we're using and the types of questions that we're using to get the most from our clients if we're trying to sell virtually. So think of some new engagement questions. Things like, how is this situation impacting your industry, right? How is it impacting your marketplace, your company? How is it impacting you? And this really is that concentric circle approach that we talked about, that we teach in our enterprise selling program here at Sandler. But it really is very important in today's market right now to be asking questions like this. How is that impacting your industry right now, your market, your company, as well as yourself? So try to think of some questions around those four pieces when looking at, connecting or trying to sell virtually. Building relationships. So look for the opportunity for sincerity and engage. Again, guys, we've already, made it very, very clear that in today's market, we need to be empathetic. We need to be sincere. We need to handle these prospective clients with care. That's what they need right now. And we need to be those high performers that understand that. And we need to be sincere with all of our interactions. Look for the opportunity to be personable, be significant, be unexpected. If you can start to use applications like Loom or BombBomb, and you send a email, and instead of a big long email, it's actual video, that's unexpected. That's something that the client might be like, whoa, that's different. That makes them remember you, right? Be significant. So you try to think of things like that you can start to put into your sales process right now and your follow-up process with clients. You need to be that bright part of the day. We've already talked about that. We need to be that part of the day that people get excited about. Maybe it's a post on LinkedIn that every Friday they know that you're going to be posting something that brings a lot of positive energy or brings light to their day, and they look forward to that. And again, that's what takes you from being that vendor, which we talked about in our last session, takes you from being a vendor that is replaceable to that trusted advisor. And if you can move into that trusted advisor space, that's where you're really going to reap the benefits. Okay, so something to think about. Your enthusiasm needs to be contagious. So again, if you've got a routine where you're able to get up in the morning, get up early, have a workout, that's what we want to look. We want to be contagious with our attitudes. Again, having virtual lunch, have a virtual coffee, send a handwritten note. I don't know if that's best practice right now, but send a video message if you can. Just some tools that we use here at Sandler. So the Relationship Builder tool, again, something that's in our programs that we use with our clients. Just a tool to really look at the client's name, their role, again, how you connected, the value that you're trying to bring them, just things like this that you might have inside of your bag of tricks or tools. This may help. So the LinkedIn Levers tool is something that we spoke about in our first session. This really pertains to connecting with people on LinkedIn and building your virtual network, really understanding why you're connecting with people, how you're connecting with people, why would they want to connect with you, being very clear on your expectations of when you do connect with someone online, and doing that authentically and doing that with a caring approach. So having something like this may help. I'll leave that up for 5 more seconds so you guys can take a quick snapshot of that, because that might be beneficial for you and your teams. So there you go. Is there any best practices right now from you guys on how to build relationships virtually right now that you'd like to share with the group? Thank you, Steve, for the spelling mistake. I appreciate that. Yes. Meeting minutes, very important. Storytelling, super important, absolutely. Terry, storytelling right now is absolutely imperative. If we can provide some good stories to tell our clients, but also we want to get stories from them. We really want to understand what they're going through. So upfront contract tweaks. So, is this appropriate time? Use respectful language, guys. We really want to be comfortable with making it a web call. So again, that communication, the collaboration, the connection, we really want to make sure that we can, zero in on that. Having follow-ups like no worries if there's interruptions with children, pets, etc. Trying to be laid back and as most relaxed as we can be on these calls is, again, best practice. Review what you've got to this meeting. So ask anything that has changed since the last time you spoke. These upfront contracts are super important, and they are a piece of the puzzle that we teach here at Sandler in our foundations programs as well as our sales mastery programs. But having a clear upfront contract and really making sure that people are clear on what has changed or what's coming up in this meeting is super imperative. Have a clear purpose for the meeting. Again, that comes from your upfront contract. Include it in your slide deck if possible. We got to be respectful of everyone's time. Again, give permission to say no. People are going to say no right now. We have to be expecting to that. Give multiple versions of what a yes means. Your sales process or your sales cycle might be a little longer than it traditionally was. We need to be accepting of that, and we need to be, very adaptable with that. So we need to understand we might need to add a few more steps with that building rapport, or even closing the deal, we might need to make sure that we're extending our process if needed. Yes, we need to be clearly defined in our calendars for meetings, expectations, and so forth. Very, very important. Get permission to reach out separately if it's on a group call. So again, as we mentioned, you might be on a call with 10 or 15 people. Just get their permission to reach out separately if at all possible. Pain questioning strategies. So these are emotional times, guys. We really need to take that to heart. It is an emotional time right now. People's emotions are on high. But we also have to remember that moving away from a negative consequence is a 5 times better motivator than moving toward a positive one. So although people are emotional right now, we don't want to take advantage of that. But what we do want to do is speak to them and build that relationship on how we can help them through this time, right? We don't want to be preying on people that are struggling or finding it emotional or things like that. That's not what we're out to do. That's not the professional way of selling. But what we really want to do is position ourselves where we can be that trusted advisor. We can support our prospective clients through this tough time, but we just need to understand that they will move 5 times faster from a negative consequence. So, if we can be there to support them during whatever they're going through, so be it. So again, with that concentric circle approach, understanding the questioning around the prospect, the company, the marketplace, and the industry will really help you propel yourselves forward. The pain and questioning strategies. So use the current situation to dive a little deeper. And again, we went into great detail on this in our last webinar on Wednesday, where we talked about moving from that vendor space to that trusted advisor space and understanding those emotional questions, the things that will impact them and their commitment and the personal impact on them that they're finding right now versus the intellectual part of them that will make the decision, right? People will really look at an intellectual sort of approach when they're looking at their business, the impact on their business, specific examples of what's happening in their business, in the pain and gain indicators, all intellectual sort of questioning techniques that we can be using. So this wheel, if you may, really could help you guys when you're looking at those questions or even some of the content that you're going to post online via LinkedIn or whatever platform you're using. Try to put it in one of these spectrums here. Take a look at what you're posting, why you're posting it. Are we tapping into their emotional side right now? Or are we going to be tapping into their intellectual side right now with this post? Very, very important to take a look at that. And here's a respectful example of a sensitive approach by a fellow Sandler teammate who was connecting with a hospital, right? So just the words that he's using, the way that he's reached out to this hospital about what they're doing, what they're going through. And just the last line here, I know it's crazy times right now. Some are all consumed just keeping the ship afloat. Others are open to connecting. Are you open, even if there's no immediate need, to a brief introductory call? So that's leaving it totally up to that prospective client, whether or not they want to connect. But this would be a great example of an in-mail or an inbound email through LinkedIn, a direct message through LinkedIn. But just make sure that you're making it customized to whoever you're talking to. You understand where they work, all of that, where they are as far as the globe goes, if they're a local customer, things like that, right, guys? So again, we just want to be very respectful and sensitive when we are approaching clients through things like email or direct messages online. So that's just a quick example of what a message could look like if you're looking to do that. So let's just open up the chat here before we end this session, guys. Share one lesson that you learned here today with the group that you might implement into your day. Love to get some feedback. Stay positive, absolutely. Looking into BombBomb, great idea. Love the virtual lunch idea. Absolutely, guys. Do the unexpected. Absolutely, James. Be organized. Remain positive. Yes, and be a resource. That's very, very important. Yeah, great point, Wayne. Great points there, guys. Lots of stuff that we went through here today, guys. Again, things like Loom and things like BombBomb. A lot of people seem to be excited about using things like that. That will be unexpected. People will not expect to get a video message from you with you explaining what you wanted to write in your email. So again, try to be that person that's unexpected. But for the last 5 minutes here, guys, I want to talk to the people that are not really familiar with the Sandler system and what we do. So the next steps, we have an upcoming session that, you know, due to the overwhelming attendance that we've seen and the signups that we've seen on these webinars, we're going to be holding a session on April 8th at 10 a.m. For all people that are not really sure or clear on what we do at Sandler. You could have just been hopping on these webinars because you saw the free Sandler sessions, and that's fantastic. But what we'd really love to do is take that, you know, another step further and show you guys how we can best support you through our sales mastery and our leadership for organizational excellence programs. There's going to be a lot of people on this webinar, so I wanted to give you guys first dibs to get yourselves signed up. You can email myself right there at the bottom, or Eric Fry, our president, to get yourself signed up. We're going to take a deep dive into those specific programs, and you know, we used those programs as a reference tool for all 6 of our free sessions that we offered at Sandler. Everything that's been presented has been pulled from our content, and we really hope that these sessions have helped you. And if you'd like to learn more, you know, this is an opportunity for you and your teams to join us for this webinar and to learn about what we do here at the Sandler training business, and why we do what we do and why we love what we do. So if you could just give me a thank you in the chat bar. I really appreciate it that you guys were able to make these webinars. You've made the last couple weeks for here at Sandler very exciting, and we really appreciate your business, and we really appreciate you guys taking the time out of your busy mornings to join it and to join me. I really appreciate that. I know it's early for some of you guys, but I've really enjoyed presenting these webinars with you guys, and hopefully you can join us Wednesday. We'd love to have you learn more about what we do. So without further ado, very helpful. You're very welcome, Harley. You're very welcome, Derek. I hope that you guys got some value from this, if anything. And if you want, you can share this webinar that we're going to have on Wednesday with someone that you know that might benefit from it. Go ahead. So again, thank you very much, guys. Have a great rest of the week, and please stay safe. And just let us know that if you'd like to join the webinar, and we'll go from there. Okay? Again, stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll talk to you guys later. Have a great weekend, Rob, too. And thank you guys for your interaction on the webinar today. See you later. See you later, guys.